Hi, this is Mark News from Plant Talk Radio. Thanks for subscribing and listening to our podcast, Your Gardening Questions from Plant Talk Radio. If you have a gardening question you'd like our host Fred Howard to answer, send him an email. The email address is fred@planttalkradio.com. Now for today's question. Donna writes in, I've been picking sour cherries, and I'm constantly reminded because of all the scrapes on my arms that I forgot to trim off the dead branches in the spring. The branches range in size from just twigs up to as big as 1.5 to 2 inches in diameter. And she wants to know, is it okay to trim off the branches now, or should I wait until fall? And is there anything I need to do in addition to that, in addition to just some good pruning?
Well, while she's already scratched up, I would say go ahead and prune now. Get it over with. No harm done that you didn't clean it out. It is a good idea indeed to do so. And seriously, while you're in the consideration of that tree, I would see no reason for you not to go ahead and prune. A good pruning cut is, of course, the best guidance. There is a branch bark collar that is physically and physiologically there. On pear and apple, you can see a ridge around the stem that enters the main, the bigger branch or whatever. Cut just on the outside of that. There is tissue in that collar for closure, for healing, whatever you want to call it, but it's a closure factor. You've seen the rings on a previous cut, and that's just the way the tree closes its own wounds. The wound will always be there. If 40 years from now you cut that tree down, cut through that section, you'll see where that bump was. You'll see some dead tissue in there. Normally, though, out in the woods where you can walk through a woods that's gotten some age to it, you can look up 30 feet before you see the first branches on things, and the trunk is almost all clear wood. It's a mechanism that Mother Nature has in almost all plants, one way or the other, to close over the dead branch. Now, in the woods, the branch dies and then it decays and etc. In your case, you can just make a nice clean cut, stay on the outside of that little tiny ridge, or assume that it's there and stay out just a little ways. Now, I'm not talking a 1/4 inch nubbin. I'm thinking something 1/16, maybe 3/16 out would be as far as you would want to go out on the branch, be it a larger branch or a twig. And I'd say go ahead and get it done. Just get that closure process started this year while you're already scratched up, and happy picking. And I can envy you, because my first home had a sour cherry tree, and I had to fight the birds for it. And I mean, I came out of there scratched up a good bit not from the birds, but from not having pruned and so on and so forth.
Well, now, if she decides to wait until the tree is naked, as you like to say, when it's defoliated, either in the fall or maybe even in the spring, when would she want to prune that tree without losing the cherries?
Well, now, well, that's a darn good question, Mark.
Sorry.
No. Let's answer it this way. The cherry puts out its flower on new wood.
Okay.
Or on the little spurs from old wood, etc. It won't make a whole lot of difference, because a dead branch is a dead branch, twig, branch, whatever. So she can cut those off now. And I would say in this case with the bearing tree, and it sounds like it's probably a healthy tree, I would say go ahead and get it done. There's no reason not to wait until winter, except that on a cherry, it's a little bit more difficult to see the dead tissue. On a twig or now on a branch, you can definitely tell, because the buds won't have developed, the wood will have shrunken a little bit and so on. But I think best to get it done right now and let the procedure of closure start.
Hey, thanks again for listening to our podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our other podcasts as well, the Plant of the Week podcast and the Plant Talk Radio podcast, all on iTunes or your favorite podcast player. If you'd like to sponsor a daily podcast, contact us at fred@planttalkradio.com. To find out more about Fred Howard and Plant Talk Radio, visit our website, planttalkradio.com.
This is Michelle Wilson, host of the Business Inspires podcast from the Tri-Village Chamber Partnership. To run a successful business, you need resources, valuable connections, and community recognition. In each episode of the Business Inspires podcast, we talk with small business community leaders who will inspire you to create the business you are envisioning. The Business Inspires podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, your Alexa device, and your favorite podcast player.
Circle270media.com